From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Let's give a quick, and can you guys, I'm sure can hear me now. We had a little stream issue. We good? We good? We're good. All right, here we go. Quick shout out to Ativo and KnowBe4. We're constantly upgrading and tinkering around here, so I do apologize. We had a little stream issue there. So here we go. We are good. Thank you so much for that, Tim. So KnowBe4, Ativo Networks, thank you so much for your support. And you guys can tell with all the stream issues I'm having right now. I know you guys can hear me. Now you guys can actually see me. I need my espresso. I really need it this morning. It has been one of those mornings, folks. So with that, thank you so much, Tim. I really do appreciate it, man. Good morning. And David, thank you so much. Here we go, folks. Coffee cup cheers or chai cup tears. There we go. Harshel. Coffee cup cheers, folks. James McQuiggan's a coined term on the show here. So we listen to the people who tune in. All right, Rob, thank you so much. We've got our stream issue going. Let's get right into a joint advisory that was published on Wednesday by CISO, the UK version, the NSCS, and Australia, calling special attentions to flaw in network perimeter tech from Citrix, Fortinet, Pulse, F5, and Mobile Iron. The agencies listed 30 distinct security vulnerabilities categorized by CVEs that have been routinely exploited over the last 2 years to plant malware on public and private sector organizations around the world. According to the data, it's clear that the pandemic-induced shift to remote work has introduced low-hanging fruit for attackers. And in 2021, 4 of the most targeted vulnerabilities affected remote work, VPNs, or cloud-based technologies. Most VPN devices remained unpatched during 2020. The rapid shift and increased use of remote work options like VPNs and cloud-based environments probably put additional burden on cyber defenders struggling to keep pace with routine software patching. Of those, you see the different CVEs here. From Microsoft, it's CVE 2021-26855, 26857, 26858, and 27065. Pulse secures new CVEs for 2021. 22893, 22894, 22899, and 22900. Acelion 27101, 27102, 27103, 27104. VMware. All of these CVEs are 2021 so far, 21985, and Fortinet CVE 2018-13379, CVE 2020-12812, and CVE 2019-55901. All of these are significant threats to your organization. They're asking you to please manage, search, and I don't know. We've talked kind of about this for a while, right? All these different VPNs, and when you're a security vendor who you actually hire to do security for you ends up being a liability. Security vendors are not immune to cyber threats. And maybe we've set the bar so high that if you sell me security, you must be impenetrable. To the contrary, you sell me security, therefore you're a greater target. People will invest more time in trying to attack you, looking for your vulnerabilities. Vet your cybersecurity vendors just as much as you would vet any third-party vendor within your organization. That is really critical. And with your VPNs, with your remote work, start to look at different ways that you can solve this hybrid work environment. Everything from classifying your employees, and do it this way. So take your people who have the keys to the kingdom, who have the most access, who are probably going to be the most targeted, and build a hybrid network for them from home. Invest in that. It'll cost you probably $2,000 a person. I don't know how many you have in your organization. Could be 10, could be 100, could be 1,000. Take those 1,000 people, deploy security aspects at home, put in a firewall at their house, put in routers, set up remote control, set up a work network for them, set up a home network, set up an IoT network for them. This is the future of security in a hybrid work environment. This isn't about COVID. This is about we've learned to work remotely. Today, we are hiring people from all over the world that we didn't do before. This advisory is just letting us know that the traditional thought behind how we secure our networks and how we get people to log into our organizations are flawed. So change that around, build that into your budget, start talking about it with the executive leadership. You will win this battle because you'd be able to add the idea of, hey, we can block your kids from going to specific websites. We can do all these different things that would really cater to our executive leadership, folks. Let's move to the next story where a critical Microsoft Hyper-V bug is about to haunt you for years to come, according to a recent report. Currently tracked as CVE 2021-28476, the security issue has a critical severity score of 9.9 out of 10. Exploiting it on unpatched machines can have a devastating impact as it allows crashing the host or to execute arbitrary code on it. The bug is in the Hyper-V network switch driver and affects Windows 10 and Windows servers 2012 through 2019. It emerged in a build from 2019 and received a patch in May of this year. Public details about the flaw are scarce at the moment, but in a blog post, researchers Peleg Hadar of SafeBreach and Ophir Harpaz of Guardicore explain where the fault is and why it is exploitable. The two researchers found the bug together and disclosed it privately to Microsoft. The flaw itself stems from the fact that Hyper-V's virtual switch does not validate the value of an OID request that is intended for a network adapter. An OID request can include hardware offloading, internet protocol security, and single root IO virtualization requests. An attacker successfully leveraging this vulnerability needs to have access to a guest virtual machine and send a specially crafted packet to the Hyper-V host. The result can either be crashing the host and terminate all of the VMs running on top of it, or gaining remote code execution on the host, which gives complete control over it and any attached VMs. Orgs are very slow to patch this specific vulnerability. Again, patching is hard, patching is hard, patching is hard. I can keep saying that 500 more times. Patching is hard. Have a good patch management plan. Rank your patches based on what's more critical for your organization. If you're using Azure and you're using Hyper-V deployment for your VMs on your Windows servers, get those patched right away. If you can't get it patched for whatever reason, reach out to Microsoft. Those guys will help you find workarounds. They are really keen to ensure that these vulnerabilities don't get taken advantage of. It's in their best interest. We'll move on to the next story. According to this headline, again, I've started using the record.media as another source. I really do like the stuff that they put out there. Some of it doesn't have a lot of fluff. This one, though, Cataline, I will slightly disagree. The offices were not raided by the Israeli government. The Israeli Ministry of Defense visited NSO's offices yesterday to get some clarification. This was ahead of a meeting between Israeli Defense Minister Benjamin Gantz and the French Defense Minister in Paris, who were meeting ahead of the inspection that came to their facility. The Israeli Ministry of Defense, as the office that allows the outsourcing and the sale of any weaponry within the state of Israel, has a valid and legitimate reason to visit any manufacturer with or with no notice whatsoever, depending on this. The NSO's offices in their Herzliya offices were the ones that were visited. There was no raid. It didn't take anything out of there. A raid would entail arrests, search warrants, anything like that. This was not a raid. It was more of an in-depth audit of the documentation and any sales that they've had, including to what capacity they're serving these customers. A source of mine within NSO told me, that it was just a simple visit. They just wanted to understand and wanted to fact check some of the stuff that was in the reports, and they left several hours later. No arrests were made, no equipment was confiscated, and their export license is not at threat at the moment. Yesterday, in the meeting between Benny Gantz, who's the defense minister for the state of Israel, and the French defense minister Gantz indicated that French President Emmanuel Macron's office phone was not one of the phones targeted by NSO, and NSO had no direct relations to that. So here's some of the facts on that as well. We'll move to our next story here, where one ransomware gang comes and where it goes, another shows up. Haron and BlackMatter have emerged on the Cybercrime forum. They're coming to replace DarkSide and Revel. So, when I'll share something a little about this. So these two, they've set up a whole, we won't target hospitals and critical infrastructure and oil and gas and defense and nonprofit and government, but we'll go anyone who does $100 million or more. So, all right, we'll see how these guys actually pull this off. To take things here is when this is kind of like a terror group, right? So just because you take out the leader doesn't mean the group ceases to exist. There's other people within this. This isn't one person, two person. These are organizations. That's all they do. And when the leaders on top say, risk is too great for us, we're going to pull out, we're going to go start a security researcher company, or we're just not for us. Other group of underlings go, well, we're going to do it on our own. This is what we're going to name ourselves. And here we go. And they just come right back. So on BlackMatter and Haron, they've published that they are now looking to get access, etc. So we'll see how that goes for them. But new ransomware gangs are looming right there for us, folks. And our final story: President Biden issues a new security memorandum bolstering critical infrastructure cybersecurity. Sorry, the memorandum comes after the Colonial Pipeline and JBS Foods that revealed significant vulnerabilities across the U.S. infrastructure. It directs the Department of Homeland Security, CISA, and NIST, in collaboration with other federal agencies, to develop a cybersecurity performance goal and guidance for critical infrastructure orgs. The White House statement said that we expect those standards will assist companies responsible for providing essential services like power, water, and transportation to strengthen their cybersecurity. I'm curious what you guys think of just, this isn't even another framework. It's more of like a performance approach. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, I am ecstatic beyond belief that this White House is taking cybersecurity seriously. The predecessor, we saw very little from them when it came to cybersecurity from this kind of level of private-public partnership. This administration is really going at this. The hiring of Ann Neuberger into the White House was a really critical part of taking this seriously and keeping it front of mind for the president. And we're seeing this every week. The White House is addressing different challenges within the security sector. That was something we didn't have before. So the private sector is urged to adopt all new goals and guidance by CISA and NIST that will outline as part of a shared effort. Now, here's the thing. So the president can actually do this and get outlines, but he can't make companies do it. He can only urge them to do it. Congress and Senate would need to take the CISA and NIST guidelines and goals and then pass them into law. And only then will they be able to really enforce them. Until then, it would just be like the NIST framework. Like, it's nice, it's there, but that's what it is. Yesterday, I talked about President Biden talking about a cyber threat could escalate into a real shooting war. And so that's also at the heels. This comes on the heels of that specific statement. Rob says, unfortunately, the cyber czar will be limited in value until they have some type of budgetary authority. I agree. They absolutely will have some issues, but right now they're able to do this through executive orders and deploying federal agencies to come up with standards. At that point, the cyber czar is going to need to be a politician, and they're going to need to go to Congress and Senate and go to the Homeland committees and go to the defense committees and say, we need you guys to take what we're doing here and pass it into law. Get it in the committee, get it through the processes, and get it into law. And so that is also very important, Rob, and great point. Yeah, the cyber czar, in time, we should have the Minister of Cyber. And that title should exist. That should be a cabinet position, and that should be someone who is appointed for every administration, and not just having a cyber czar appointed in the White House, but really creating the office of the Minister of Cyber, who's in charge of coordinating all national cybersecurity efforts from with CISA, FBI, Secret Service, private-public partnerships. If you build that office, if you build it, they will come. And I believe that if you actually deploy a Minister of Cyber office and you have it coordinate with DOD, DHS, and then obviously under DHS, you've got TSA and CISA, because TSA is now in charge of pipeline security. Yeah, I know. Same guys that ask you to take your shoes off at the airport and take your laptop out and all of that. These guys are now in charge of pipeline security, apparently. If you missed that, that's from a week ago. You can go and check it out. But it would eliminate all of that, and you would have, the Minister of Cyber really coordinate everything, so there's no duplication. Or if there's joint investigations, you've got someone running point to it. Some countries are already doing that. Israel has a Minister of Cyber. I believe Singapore has a Minister of Cyber. India is probably looking at bringing a Minister of Cyber. All of might be good. Just saying. John says making positive steps for sure, but loads of work to do and expecting lessons learned. Yes, we've got a lot of work ahead of us here, folks. That's it for our practitioner brief today. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. right here, I'll be with Eric Krohn of KnowBe4 live CISO Talk live stream tomorrow at 11 a.m. Be here. We're going to be talking about a lot of this stuff. We're going to be looking at what does this U.S. security memorandum actually mean. We'll take your questions AMA style. This is going to be really significant. Tune in tomorrow. Myself and Eric Krohn will be here at 11 a.m. Later today, CISO Talk podcast, David Nolan, the CISO over at Aaron's Tech. He'll be joining me. That'll be out today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so go and check that out. Shout out to Tom, who says, thanks for sharing this information. I appreciate it. Tom, and thank you for tuning in. Roger says, an added point, the folks developing autonomous vehicles resist oversight by outside entities. The way the governance of our country goes, folks, is the private market innovates, creates, consumers consume, then they come in and regulate. And they do that so that innovation keeps going, so that competition is there. If you regulate something sometimes before, and I've been told this by multiple elected members in my time in DC, they'll tell you this. They'll go, if we start regulating before, we could, one, hinder competition or hinder development and innovation. And we don't want to do either of that. If our nation continues to be the leader in R&D, the leader in innovation, and that's very true, because a lot of the stuff that is developed right here in this country, then we ought to understand that that's one of it. I doubt that autonomous vehicles will be on the road before regulations in place. I doubt it. I highly, highly doubt it. I think that's going to be one of those where they're going to be like, yeah, that's great. You're testing it now, but that's one aspect. So that's it for us here, folks. Again, I want to sign off, wishing you all a great rest of the day. Be here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. Check out the CISO Talk podcast today with David and Nolan. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a great one that'll be live at 6 p.m. tonight. Until then, thanks so much for being here. Coffee cup cheers, and stay cyber safe. Cheers.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.